Aloha, everyone! It's so good to see you today. I'm JayDreamerZ, by the way, and this is Truth in Movies, usually done on Mondays. And it's been a week or two since we've done our last one. Reasons for that we'll talk about later. However, we're pushing forward, moving on. We're gonna keep doing this segment forever if I can. All right, so basically, here's what I do. I allow some of the members to vote on which movies they'd like to see me break down. And what I do is I pull out the esoteric in the movie. I mean, like the deeply profound esoteric, as much as I can. And we talk about like the deeper things that the movies are saying, because the movies are more true than the life that's been shown to us. I go to the movies and I'm almost never amused anymore. I'm deep in thought. I leave the movie theater speechless because I'm profoundly thinking about life, hidden history, all the subjects that I talk about here on my channel. Now, I want to give a special shout out to Mother Dragon, who has been recommending this movie for a few weeks now, and we're finally able to do it. So, congratulations, Mother Dragon, that we get to pick your movie. Also, I want to welcome some new members. There's a lot of new members joining. I'm going to talk about membership and stuff like that a little towards the middle, because it's actually really important. But I want to say welcome to ATS King R3D, Joseph Borg, Trailer Man C, and Brit, newest members. So welcome, everybody. Now, if you don't know, over here in the chat, this is the Good Vibe Tribe, okay? They're here to help out if people have questions. They've been watching my videos for quite some time. So if you have questions, you could just use the @ symbol, talk to them, ask them some questions. I do jump in the chat too, in order to talk to people and things of that nature. What else? And they're all about good vibes, okay? So if you want to be a member, a requirement is if you want to be in the chat, bring the good vibes. That's all I ask. There's too much negativity out there in the world, and we're going to talk about that today when we talk about Big Hero 6. All right, last disclaimer before we get into this. Normally what I do is I sit down, I'll watch a movie, whatever movie is voted on, and I'll sit down and watch the whole movie. I'll rent it off of Amazon, or if I have Netflix and it's on Netflix, stuff like that. And I will pause the movie, take screenshots so that I can share these images with everyone. Times are a little tough right now. I wasn't able to actually rent the movie. I did rent it once, but I wasn't able to finish it. I wasn't able to rent the movie again, so I wasn't actually able to take a lot of screenshots. Normally, that's what I do, and I'm sure I'll be able to do that in the future. But these screenshots, these are just things I pulled from the internet, so I'm not exactly going to go in order this time. Normally, I start at the beginning of the movie. I'll go through the whole thing. This time, it's going to kind of be various parts of the movie that I'm going to be talking about. All right, so hey, what's up, everybody in the chat? It's good to see you guys. Misty, Evan, it's Pinecone, Great Hope, everyone, man, everybody's here. Okay, so let's talk about Big Hero 6, all right? First, let's talk about the name, right? Now, those of you who follow my channel understand that I like to talk about symbolism, especially symbolism that's typically considered to be spooky, mystical, evil, anything of that nature. Because the reason that people feel that way about particular symbols is because I believe that they don't understand what the meaning of the symbol is. A symbol in and of itself isn't evil. It's not evil, it's not bad, it's not good. It's just a symbol. It's conveying a message. And the more symbols you put together, the more context you put together for a message, right? That's how hieroglyphs work. Cave paintings, that's how all of our languages started off. So I've talked about the number 6 and inversely, or upside down, the number 9. Right? They're basically both the exact same symbol. They're not just random characters, random numbers. Someone just decided that a spiral would be a good one for 6 for some reason. Everything that we have in our environment, in the world that we grew up in, everything that's shown to us and taught to us in school systems we don't understand it. We have a very small grasp on what it actually is. The letters and numbers are pictures that have evolved over time into the glyphs and symbols that we use today, that are completely, for the most part, without meaning whatsoever. So Big Hero 6. The 6 stands for the all-seeing eye, the hole in the sky that opens up during the plasma apocalypse cycle scenario that happens to our world from time to time. What happens is a hole in the sky opens up, creates a swirling vortex. There's plasma right on the other side. All the lights on Earth go out. The sun, the moon goes out. There's a huge EMP. There's a lot of stuff to it. And I talk about that on Thursdays when I talk about the plasma apocalypse. But this is the all-seeing eye. That's the wheel in the sky that keeps on turning. That's the evil eye. That's the spiral that you see. You know, if you wonder why the cavemen are always drawing spirals, right? It's not because they're stupid cavemen and they just like to draw spirals. It's because the spiral is the biggest symbol that they saw at a significant point in history, a significant reoccurring point in history. Everyone in the sky saw these spiraling vortices up in the sky as the plasma entered down into our world, terraforming our world, introducing magic into our world, which I cannot wait to talk about magic on our Sylvan Linings episode tomorrow. But I'll save that one, okay? Anyhow, that's number 6. The number 6 is just a representative of the hole in the sky that opens up, the spiral that opens up. Okay, that's what it is. It's also the number 9. You can flip it upside down. It's still the exact same symbol. So Big Hero 6, the big hero of the plasma apocalypse. The big hero, there are 6 people in this group, okay? But there's a big hero of the plasma apocalypse. We're going to talk about it. All right, now let's check this guy out. His name is Baymax, okay? I honestly didn't have time to look up Baymax, but we know what max means, right? Max means the ultimate of something, the maximum amount. That's what that's short for, max, right? So a lot of. And then Bay, I'll leave it up to you guys to look that one up. Normally I'm much more prepared, but I've been through some things in life lately, so I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know everything, but I do want to throw it out there for you guys to practice looking up so that you can get good at the things that you're interested in watching me do. You see what I'm saying? Now let's check this guy out. First of all, he's all in white, okay? I've talked about this many times before. All of these characters who are all in white, all right, in the movies at the very least, a lot of times music videos and stuff too, they represent creatures and beings from space, because space is white. Space is not black. Now, I'm going to show you how the movie portrays space a little later on. But basically, when you see beings that are pure white like that, or, you know, they're dressed up in a white suit or things of that nature, that represents what we have grown accustomed to calling space. I don't know if there's a whole lot of space in space, because I have a completely different idea about that. But I'll show you, come back to that when we see the pictures of it here. Okay, so that's Baymax. Baymax basically is a healthcare robot, right? This takes place in a fantastic alternate dimension, basically. I mean, it's not really an alternate dimension, but it takes place in a city that doesn't exist today, called San Francisco or something like that. It's Tokyo and San Francisco mixed together, basically. Now let's stop right there. Does that mean that it's completely make-believe? Absolutely not. I have learned a little while ago that nothing is make-believe. There's truth in everything. There are grains of truth all over the place. As a matter of fact, I think the only thing that exists is the truth. It's just been wrapped up and tied into knots, and it falls to us to put those pieces back together. You see what I mean? So, when we talk about movies, we're talking about the truth. So, San Francisco, or whatever it's called, there is no such city today, but what could this mean? Remember, we're talking about the plasma apocalypse. We're talking about the things that happen during the cyclical reset of our entire world. Well, one of those things is that California is not always going to be California, okay? Like the stereotype it has right now is not always going to keep that. It's not always going to have the same population. Japan is not always going to have the same native inhabitants. It's not going to be full of Japanese people all of the time. When this cyclical reset happens, it it has the very strong potential to not just change geography around as the plasma comes down and terraforms the land, but also changes the nationalities of those various places, right? So that's an interesting thing too, because you're going to have survivors, and those survivors are going to be of different nationalities, and they're going to go other places and start their own families and their own tribes, and they're going to have their kids, and they're going to have their kids, and pretty soon the nationalities or the nations develop over time, right? All right, so here's the whole Big Hero 6 crew. For those of you who don't know, Big Hero 6 is actually a Marvel movie, right? And Marvel is huge on the plasma apocalypse. San Francisco, thank you, Ted Ozzy. Marvel is just ripe with plasma apocalypse symbolism, okay? If you don't know what that is, just tune in on Thursday, and I do a small intro to that all the time. But anyhow, let's move on, right? These are all the people, okay? I'm going to get to these guys in a bit, but basically, this kid, hold on, let me see what picture's next. Okay, let's focus on this kid. This kid basically is sort of the master of the robot, Baymax, right? The kid's brother dies in the beginning of the movie. Like, it made me cry, man. It was a really emotional point in the movie. But anyways, the kid's brother dies, right? And the movie starts off, it doesn't get into like a whole lot of exciting stuff right away. It really focuses on relationship, right? That's something we need to come back home to, I think, okay? Relationships. Yes, explosions they catch our attention. Yes, all the death and stuff is, we like to watch that because we don't see that every day. But come on, we really have to get back to the relationship portion of the esoteric, because really that's what everything revolves around. That's the true alchemist, okay? It's not the physical act of turning base metals into gold. It is the esoteric, spiritual, energetic act of turning your base self into something that shines, okay? And that's a key part of this movie, because this kid, his brother dies, and he's crushed, man. He's crushed beyond all belief, and he's depressed. He doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to go outside. He doesn't want to make friends. He doesn't really care about anything. His life just hit pause the moment his brother died. And that's a crucial part of this movie, because as you'll see with all of the plasma apocalypse movies, the key and central role of all of the movies is not the action. The key and central role of all of the movies is love. It's all about true love. It's always been about true love. So I need everyone to be on the same page with me if you'd like to be, okay? Because that's what I'm doing. In order to refocus, in order to see the bigger picture, you have to see the inner picture, which is the heart. The heart is what it's all about. What good is surviving the end of the world if you're by yourself and alone? You see what I'm saying? Hey, I just got a donation from Sean Wheeler, and he says, "Hey Jay, hey gang." Sean, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me, man. Okay, so the kid's brother dies. Now, the kid is basically a genius, all right? And his brother is also a genius, and they work on computers and mechanics and things like that at basically a school that's kind of like MIT, right? And that's where Baymax was created by his brother. Well, after his brother dies, Baymax all of a sudden comes to life basically in his bedroom because he hurt himself. Now, Baymax, check this out. Let me see if I have another picture. Okay, this is Baymax right here, right? Remember, he's all white, okay? That's a huge clue. Almost every time across the board, all white in the movies represents beings from space. Aliens, beings that have supernatural powers or supernatural beings, etc. That usually represents beings who did not come from this world. Angels, you know what I mean? It's all the same thing. Vampires, all that stuff. Now Baymax, when he was created, remember he is a robot, okay? And I'm going to talk about robots here in a bit, because I'm going to talk about the kid's invention, which are basically nanobots, all right? Or a form of nanobots. Now robots, this one right here, he was created to be a healthcare companion. Basically, a healer. Baymax, the white being who represents space creatures, and I'm going to prove to you that that's what that is towards the end of the movie, okay? At the beginning of the movie, you don't think he has anything to do with space. By the end of the movie, you know it, okay? anyhow, he's created to be a healer. Now, for those of you who have studied the esoteric biblically, right, you've probably read the book of Genesis a million times, just like I have, right? You get to the exciting part, Genesis chapter 6, where the giants come down. The titans basically come down as well. The great men of old, the men of renown, the men who had name, the heroes of old, basically, right? And it does not go into a lot of detail. So I have spent, I don't know, many hundreds upon hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours of my life studying that particular subject. The giants of old, the Anunnaki, the beings, the sons of God, the beings who came down here from above, okay? And I talk about that all of the time. That's what Baymax represents. Now, he's a healer. The ancient Hebrew or Phoenician word for healer is Rapha. And if you have many healers, the word is Raphaim. Now, Raphaim is another word that was used in the Bible for the Nephilim, or the fallen ones, or the ones who came down, right? All of these space beings, they're always referred to as, well, a lot of times they're referred to as the beings who came down from above. However it's translated, it's saying they're not from this terrestrial realm, they're from another terrestrial realm beyond, some other place. Some people call them aliens. I call them bipedal fractalverse traveling Fantazoids. Talk about that too. All right, so anyway, this is Baymax, and he represents the Raphaim, the healers, the giants of old, okay? And he happens to be, pretty giant, pretty big guy. All right, now I want to talk about this kid. I totally forgot his name. I'm really sorry. Like I said, I wasn't able to watch the movie twice, so some things have slipped my mind. But let's push forward. Thanks again, Sean. I really appreciate you, man. So this is the kid's brother that dies, all right? Now, this kid is an inventor. I think I have his inventions here. I'm going to skip forward just a bit here. Yeah, Stanley, we'll get to him in a minute. Okay, so here's his invention. You see this little weird robot, right? This kid is a genius, right? After his brother dies, this is pretty much what he looks like, right? He has all of this mental capacity, all of this unique ability, and he sits there basically playing video games. It's not being put into actual use. His life is on pause. Like in the movie, what was it called? Switch or Click with Adam Sandler, where he gets that remote control and he starts fast forwarding through everything, and he fast forwards so much that parts of his life go on to automatic fast forward, where he's not even there. It's like he's not even there. He's in the back seat. That's what's happening to this kid, and it's very important. He has a lot of potential. All of you, every single one of you out there has an immense, if not close to infinite amount of potential. You already have things that you are talented at, that you are good at, that at the very least you are interested in. This movie touches on basically sending the message, hey, it's okay to use those to benefit yourself. It's okay to use your abilities to benefit the world, to benefit other people, instead of just kind of idly wasting time with your potential, with your energy, with your creative abilities, with your talents, right? This kid, look what he can do. He's sitting there basically doing a robot war, okay? He's controlling this magnetic robot, which I want to talk about too. He's just sitting there. He's collecting money. I mean, yeah, he's making money because he's doing illegal robot fights, right? But he could be doing something that changes the world. Think about that. He could be doing something that changes the world. And I talk about this on my Sylvan Lining segments on Tuesdays, okay? It's not difficult to change the world. And you have the power to change the world. You have to just start thinking outside of your own present, current, small point of focus under your circumstances and realize that you're making ripples in a bigger body of water. I'll leave it at that until Tuesday, okay? Anyhow, so this kid is a genius. He makes these robots right here, and he enters it in here. Now, I want to point something out about this robot. Hey, we just got a new member. Let's welcome Jeremy Dolce. Welcome, Jeremy. Normally, I would be in the chat, but I don't know where the chat is right now. I'm going to jump in a little bit and then just kind of talk to the chat for a bit before we wrap up the movie. So welcome. Let's all welcome Jeremy Dolce. And thanks for becoming a member, by the way. All right, so this kid, he makes these robots. Now, this tiny little robot that's just basically magnetic pieces that are put together ends up whooping the mechanical robot. There is some symbolism going on here, which has a lot to do with the magnetics trumping the mechanics. Okay? And remember, this has a lot to do with the plasma apocalypse, the structure of our world, the electric universe, and how important electromagnetism is, and what kind of a role it plays in our world, in your life, in my life. These things are influencers. They're not just movers and shakers handling the world. We're constantly being influenced by things that we can't even, most of us don't even know any of them. Right? Some things you might know, like, okay, you'd admit a commercial tries to influence you, right? There are many other things involved in the influences of this world. Colors, sounds, vibrations, shapes, images, smells, various experiences upon experiences, lots of stuff. So anyway, this kid makes these robots, all right? Now, the robot that he makes, he enters this robot basically into a contest for that college, right? But he makes these nanobots. I wasn't able to pull up a picture from it from the internet, but imagine this robot right here, but like thousands of little tiny pieces, and they all go together. And the bad guy, let me find the bad guy since I'm talking about him. I'm going to come back to all these pictures because they're very actually important. They're crucial. All right, check out this bad guy. I don't know his name, but he turns out to be the professor, the teacher of the big hero 6 of that group, right? He was totally unassuming, ends up becoming this bad guy. Now check this out. You see that black stuff shooting up from the ground behind him? Those are basically nanobots. Those are tiny little robots. I mean, they're not microscopic in the movie or anything, but they're tiny little robots, and they come together in order to create stuff, right? And they're always black. And a lot of times, like I said, white represents space. White represents the realm beyond our realm, okay? Out there. And we're going to look at that here in a minute too. Black represents our world, being inside of a closed and contained world or a closed system, all right? It's dark in here, okay? That's why black represents these worlds, being on the inside of those worlds. All right, so the bad guy wears a kabuki mask. Kabuki. I'm not exactly sure how I'm supposed to. I think kabuki sounds cooler, but kabuki, whatever. Now, why does he wear the kabuki mask? Look at it, right? It's a white mask. It represents the beings from space, the angels, the demons, the vampires, the Vulcans. I mean, whatever you want to call them, those white-skinned, or white isn't a good one because, you know, I mean, it is white, but it's not racial. It's had nothing to do with being Caucasian, okay? But this porcelain-skinned race, this race that had this sort of opalescent, pearlescent color to them, right? He puts on the mask, and it's that kabuki mask. Now, I haven't done a lot of research into this, but I do know that the ancient tribes all around the world, right? Clans, tribes, families, whatever you want to call them, many of them have traditions of painting their faces white, just like the geisha, right? You've seen the geisha in the Asian cultures, right? Or many of the African native tribes, they'll paint their faces white. The Aborigines, they paint their faces white. The reason they do this is because they are paying homage to, or trying to communicate with, their gods, their big hero 6s, okay? That's why they do that, because when those gods came down, that's what they looked like. And that's why they put on all of that makeup, okay? And that's why it's always that white kind of a color. Now, his white has some red streaks through it. Red streaks usually indicate plasma, okay? That's the symbol for plasma. Now, he would represent somebody who is plasma possessed. Basically, I talk about that on Thursdays as well. But that's the bad guy, and that's why he wears that mask, right? It's not just because there's a sort of Asian flavor to the movie. No, it's because the kabuki mask represents the bipedal Fantazoids that are not from this world, right? Those alien beings. Sometimes they might look grayish in color, like the grays or whatever. I mean, they're portrayed and they're described from many perspectives, from many points of view, right? So you have to look through these imagery right? And put all of the symbols together in order to reverse engineer our own history and figure out where these things come from and why they're being used and why they're so profoundly interesting to us when we watch these movies. All right, let me go back through these pictures a little bit. I skipped a lot of stuff here. All right, so this kid is bummed out, man. His brother died. He can't get over it. Then all of a sudden, he finds the guy. And he goes through this. This is the last touchy-feely part that I'm really going to stress on, but I want to stress on it because, God, it's important for us to get our emotions back, right? Our emotions inside, our feelings, not our emotions, our feelings. It's so important for us to get our feelings back because a lot of people are in trouble, man. They're on the verge of becoming hardened, turning cold. Their heart just turns cold. We're becoming numb as a society to relationships, to feeling, man. Oh, I'm sorry, but it has a lot to do with what I've been through recently, and the lights turned on. All right, so this kid starts off basically on a revenge hunt. He wants revenge. He wants to kill the dude that killed his brother, right? Well, long story short, he gets the opportunity to create a miracle. And the miracle is, the magic that he introduces is the form of taking one step in the universe's direction. Just one step in the direction of a miracle, in the direction of magic, in the direction of the impossible. He takes one step towards that, and everything else is pretty much presented to him. The path got easier for him. And that step was, do I want to be like my accusers? Do I want to be like my torturers and my tormentors? The movie's talking to you. It's talking to me. And I'm just sharing what the movie said to me, okay? Do I want to be like that? Or do I want to be like Baymax? Do I want to be a healer? Do I want to be somebody that proactively loves and adds to the world instead of trying to kill and steal and destroy everything in this world? Do I want to give because I have an unlimited amount of things to give welling up inside of me? That's the decision he came to. All right, so let's move on here. Sorry. I'm not sorry, man. It's super important. I know a lot of people watch movies because you're distracted by the flashy lights and the story's crazy and everything's going on. I'm getting back to the heart of these things because I think we need to, collectively and together. All right. Okay, so here's what happens. His friends, he needs to find the bad guy. And he basically tricks his friends into saying, we're going to apprehend that bad guy. We're going to catch him and we're going to turn him into the police. No, he actually wants to kill him, which meant he was on the verge of being plasma possessed. When those people are plasma possessed, Riders on the Storm, they're possessed, man. That energy amplifies whatever is happening inside of you. If you're depressed, if you're sad, if you have a base or lowered vibration to you, that plasma is going to take control of you and it's going to basically possess you and make you do its bidding. And its bidding is to clean house when it comes here, which means get rid of people, right? It is a world eater, right? It also is something that recreates the world. It's also something that puts magic back into our world and re-energizes our world as well. But I do want to say, for those of you who are teeter-tottering, you're good sometimes, you're not good sometimes, you're selfish sometimes, you're not selfish sometimes, and, in general, you're kind of a good person. Hey, man, the end of the world is right around the corner. Now's the time to practice. Now's the time to bring about whatever change you want to see in the world by becoming it. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, so anyhow, before this whole plasma apocalypse symbolism is introduced into the movie, the kid's friends, they all work at the college, right? And as you can see, this is one of his friends. Her name's Honey Lemon. And you know what else I like about his friends, all the friends at the college? I think I have a picture of them all at the beginning here. So his friends at the college all go by alternative names. They don't like being called their birth name, their name that has been given to them as the name of a business, of a corporation, right? Of an entity, a financial entity. And this gets into like maritime law versus the laws of the land. But basically, these kids don't want to go by that name. They said, no, man, I'm breaking free from that. And one of the first things I'm going to do is change my name. Now, I'm not saying it's bad if you do like your name or you do claim your birth name or anything like that. But hey, look over in this chat, okay? These are some of the coolest people in the world that I have ever met, you know? Some people I really have met, and some people I'm meeting through YouTube and emails and all kinds of fun stuff. But look at all their names, right? These people, some of them, they go by their birth name because it suits them. It fits them. But a lot of us, our birth name, that's that certificate that has been given to us, the name that somebody else gave us, which is a descriptor, does not suit us. Or we have broken free from that. We have become a different descriptor. And when I say that, all I'm saying is names are all descriptors. That's all they are, you know? And that's what people used to be called. They were described. And that description stuck as a name, right? So all of these people right here, they all change their names. They go by their own pseudonyms. Pseudo just means false, and the nym is like name, basically. So a fake name, basically. That's why I love going by JayDreamerZ. Like, I put JayDreamerZ on all my stuff because I'm very proud of that name, because I chose that name. I chose my descriptor. That's a part of me breaking free. If you want to do it, I encourage it, because it's actually, it's so freeing. And they can tell you, believe me, many of these people over here, they can tell you, break free, you know, in many, many different ways. But changing your name or going by your own nickname or, you know, whatever it is, it's a freeing experience, and I love it. I also go by Jay, you know what I mean? JayDreamerZ, I like it. All right, so that's his buddies. That's his group, all right? Now, they're all wearing these interesting superhero suits. When he first meets them, they're just regular people, just like you. But then they turn into superheroes. Why? Well, not just to make the movie interesting, you know, not just because that's how it was in the comic book or anything. There's a purpose and a reason to this that is tied into our story, because that's the only story that exists. It is a cyclical retelling of our very own experiences. Our very own experiences are repackaged and handed to us in the form of amusement to make us not think. That's what amusement means, right? A means without, muse means to think, ment literally means mentality. You're without a thinking mentality. You're not thinking when you're amused by something, right? You can be entertained, okay? But when we're amused, we're not thinking about anything. Anyhow, these are all of his friends. Actually, they were his brother's friends. Then he sort of adopted him into his family. That's the other thing I do want to touch on. Hey, relationships are about family. Doesn't matter if you're blood related to somebody, what chromosomes you have, or anything like that. This kid quickly learns that the family are the people that you love. The family are the people that you give to, that you care about, that you add to their lives, you know, and that you want the best for them. That's the family. So he made his own family. Even though he felt like he was without a family because his brother died, because he chose a higher path, now he's got an even bigger family that are all there for him. Anyway, my point is they turn into superheroes because that's what happens during the plasma apocalypse. People turn into superheroes. Now, I talk about it on Thursday. I'll give you a taste of how that actually works. Basically, the hole in the sky opens up, the plasma comes in, it inundates our world with electromagnetism, with plasma, with magic, energy. It's been described by many different ways. Spirit, okay? Ectoplasm. It's going to come into our world and literally fill it up like a bubble. And when that happens, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but people are going to be born into this world and grow bigger. The people who have lived in this time right now, your muscles are attuned to the gravity, if you want to call it that exists in our world today. So if the gravity is weakened, which I believe it will be after this event, and then gradually it'll pick up, its force and get stronger and stronger over time. But when that weak gravitational field goes back up, you're going to have super strength. Some more than others, obviously the stronger you are, like the more super strength you'll have, which also means you'll be able to run faster, jump higher, and probably live longer as well. I talk about that stuff on Thursdays during my plasma apocalypse thing. So basically they all turn into superheroes because the plasma apocalypse is manifesting symbolically in the movie. I'm going to show you after I take a quick time out. I want to take a quick time out. Let me go ahead and take this off the screen, as a matter of fact. All right, screen share off. All right, I want to take a quick time out because I want to be very transparent. I am a guy doing this out of my son's closet, and I have been for a very long time. I love what I do. I'm getting better and better and better at it. I'm nervous right now doing this. I have never asked for subscribers. I have never asked you to like a video of mine. I figure if you like it, you like it. And I've definitely not asked for donations. I'm currently going through some trouble in life, like some financial trouble. Okay, I ran into some stuff that's just happened. I can use your help if you want to. If you find value or you want to say thank you or you just want to help out, that's why I put the ticker down there. I don't do this. Okay, I never do this. But I'm not going to be able to continue doing YouTube videos if I don't put it out there and say, hey, I could use a little hand. I could use a little help. If you and I'm not talking to everybody. And I know on YouTube, if you hear people talk about money, it's like, I get it. I really do. I just want to throw it out there because basically, if I don't let people know, hey man, I'm struggling and I need help, then I'm not going to get any. And then you're not going to see me on YouTube anymore because a lot of stuff's going to happen in my personal life and I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. So, I just wanted to throw that out there and I want to say thank you very much to everybody that has become a member. Memberships help me out to pay bills, basically. Like all the poor people in the world, you know what I'm talking about, And imagine that you're a poor person of the world, right? Now imagine that like you're trying to pay the rent, hoping that like YouTube comes through or something. You know what I mean? I don't want to get too into it. I don't want to like share a big sob story or anything like that. All I'm saying is I really appreciate all of the support that you guys send me. The PayPal donations, everybody on Patreon, people who are using the super chats, all of that stuff. Being a member is the easiest way, and you get a lot of cool little benefits that I've made for members. Also, on that note, I know I was going a little back and forth between things because I'm trying to figure stuff out. A good friend of mine said, hey man, keep your videos, the last 2 weeks worth of videos, public because I used to archive them and then only members could watch them, right? So what I'm doing is I'm keeping my videos up for 2 weeks. You've got 2 weeks to catch up. You've got 2 weeks to watch everything. I do 3 segments a week at the very least. 2 weeks, all those videos will be up. After 2 weeks, they get archived. You got to be a member to watch the older stuff. Okay. I have hundreds and hundreds of videos. I don't like to go back into the really old ones and update them. I'm just going to be honest. I don't like that. Okay. I try to just do it. I try to hit a home run out of the park every time. So anyhow, that's all I wanted to say about that. I really appreciate you guys. And on a personal note, everyone who was there for me when I went through some hardships in my life, last couple weeks. Thank you. Thank you very much. You guys really helped in ways that you probably don't even understand. And that's why everyone you see over here is a part of the Good Vibe Tribe. I really appreciate you. All right, that's enough about that. I'm just going to let that be. I wanted to put it out into the universe. Let's move on with Big Hero 6. Okay, and I'm not looking at the chat right now, just so you know. But if you want to get my attention, you got to type in @JayDreamerZ in the chat because it highlights it, and then I go, oh, there's my name, and then I read the comment. All right, let me turn this back on so we can get some pictures back up here. Thank you so much for letting me have that little moment. I appreciate it. Okay, so what he does is the kid changes the healer, right? Baymax changes the Raphaim, changes the healer into a warrior, into a fighter, into a bringer of death, basically. He puts on this exoskeleton. Now, I'm also going to throw this out there. Exoskeletons, whatever form in the movies, a lot of times they will represent the Fantazoid, the creature class Fantazoids that come down into our world. If you're not sure what that means, basically that means that when the plasma apocalypse happens, I'm all nervous now. Okay. When the plasma apocalypse happens, the hole in the sky opens up and otherworldly creatures come in. Some are bipedal like us. You would call them aliens. Some are not. They are creatures. They are strange, ancient beasts of old, monsters, whatever you want to call them. They have many different names. And quite often I've found that a certain type has an exoskeleton associated with it, right? So I did want to throw that out there. Now, he's colored it purple. Purple represents royalty. Not just royalty like, oh, the queen wears purple. Well, why does she wear purple? All of the royalty in the world and all the people in charge of our world, the reason that they wear purple is because it harkens back to the time when the sky was purple. Okay? When the sky, after the plasma apocalypse, basically, the sky's going to change to various colors, mostly red, but other hues of red as well, including purple, closer you get to the North Pole. All that means is that we are the ones who survived. We are the ones who made it, okay? And then the red represents plasma itself. That's usually what that represents. Now let's get back to the actual, the good stuff. Now, I know people like seeing all the crazy stuff happen. So let's get to that. Now, he scans Baymax here in order to like upgrade him, right? And make him into this killer. Now, when he first scans him, Baymax is not a very good killer. He's a healer. He doesn't know how to do all this stuff. He's wearing green. You'll notice that, right? Green is the heart energy. And so he teaches Baymax the fist bump and he goes, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how he does it, but it's super funny. All right, let's get it. Oh, Stan Lee, by the way. Like I said, it's a Marvel movie. Stan Lee has to make an appearance in all the Marvel movies. So he's actually in this movie. It's also a Disney movie. Disney collaborated with Marvel. Now remember, Baymax just wants to help people out. Now, I want to talk about this picture right here. I'm jumping around, I know. But here's what happens to Baymax when he runs out of energy. They portray him in the movie as basically being drunk, stupid. You know, when people get drunk, they get stupid, you know. I mean, yeah, they might have fun or whatever, but they're not thinking. They're not at their maximum amount of potential, okay? When people get drunk, they usually become kind of dumb, right? It's happened to me, so I know. So what does that mean? That means that when your energy runs low, that you start to become kind of dumb. The further back in time we go, the energy was higher and higher and higher and higher. How do you think that all of these ancient civilizations were able to create these amazing architectural feats that we cannot replicate or reproduce, or at the very minimum have a very hard time doing? Is that because the further back in time we go, the dumber we were? No. Quite the contrary. The further back in time we go, the longer we lived, the taller we were, the more healthier we were. I know we're taught the opposite of this in schools, but that's because we live in an upside down world, okay? Now, our energy supply is running low in the world today. It has made us numb and dumb in our brains. Not just individuals, but all of us. The energy is running low. The cool thing about this awakening that's happening to enlightened minds is that we're feeding into the energy, okay? And when I say energy, I mean the electromagnetism that surrounds our world and permeates our world in the form of plasma. That plasma is life. It is energy. It is all the things I've been saying. It's basically magic, okay? And it is what gives life to things. That plasma knows that on the inside, the energy is getting low. Okay. Like we live in a closed system. Our world's closed off and everything is being used up. The energy is being used up. So collectively, we're in a state of drunkenness, basically as a people. Okay. And this is what happens to us. We become stupid. When the energy runs low, we can't think. You know what I mean? So what happens right before the plasma apocalypse is the world starts to charge up as the poles begin to reverse, okay? When the poles start tilting in the other direction and they start to reverse, that energy starts to try to connect. And basically, in a nutshell, dang, sorry, Mike. Here's what happens. People are connecting to the ether. Okay, the ether itself is calling out to the energy that is inside of us. Biblically speaking, the Bible says that during the end times, that I can't quote it perfectly, but your young men will dream dreams, and your young men will have visions, and your old men will dream dreams. Right? That's because towards the end of time, that energy starts to touch people. It starts to ground itself. It starts preparing the way for when the rest of it comes in, basically. So that happens to us. We are receivers and transmitters. We pick up. Sorry, Cam. Camera 2. We pick up on that energy. And that's why you're seeing so many strange anomalies within mankind over the past, 50 years, we'll say, right? Maybe 70, right? A lot of strange anomalies are happening very quickly, exponentially, rapidly. That's because the energy is affecting us. You need to know this, okay? The energy is affecting us. The poles shifting right now is having an impact on you. I promise you this much. You have to be very careful because it is a dance that we're going through right now, okay? This is a crucial part of the play. This is the high point. This is the highlight, all right? What am I saying? I'm saying that this is the point in time where the energies are going to become amplified. Your energies are going to become amplified. Everyone in the world, all of our energy is going to start becoming amplified depending on which way we lean. Do we lean more towards a masculine energy or a male-oriented energy or a female energy, an outward energy or an inward energy? Or are you one of those amazing people that has a neutral path, a neutral energy to you, right? You're going to find that you are going to love your powers that you get, okay? For those of you who are neutral, that means you are uninfluenced. You're just along for the ride. You're experiencing, but you're just watching the world go by while being a part of it. It's a really cool thing. All right, let's move forward. All right, so yeah, he joins the robot fights. Okay, so then they go on this quest to find the bad guy. It turns out that the bad guy, remember the guy with the kabuki mask? That guy was involved in making these portals. Okay, they go to this abandoned laboratory. It was destroyed or whatever. Then there's this portal. As you can see, the portal is sucking things in. I'm just going to throw this out there. Every portal, for the most part, probably all of them, that you have ever seen on any television show, on any movie, on any music video, almost every single one of them, especially when it's circular shaped, okay? Think about that. If you're going to create a doorway, do we create circular doors in our world? No, hobbits do, but humans don't. We don't have typically circular shaped doors. So why are all of these portals, gateways, doorways, stargates, why are they always a circle? Because that circle is the eye in the sky. This image right here is on its side when it should look like that. That hole opens up in the sky, and as you can see, it just sucks everything right into it. Why? Because the world is depressurizing. We live in a pressurized world right now. That's why we have pressure systems all over the place. There's a lot of pressure in here. And when the top pops off, the world depressurizes. And on top of it, there's going to be zero gravity for a short time, which means everything's going to be floating around, which is going to create a worldwide vortex or storm, a world storm, that's going to suck everything up into that hole up in the sky. All right, let's move on to this next picture here. Oh, good. This is the part I really, really wanted to get to. Hey, we just got another new member. Let's all welcome Colin Freestone. I like your name, Colin. Colin Freestone. That's a cool name, man. Welcome. And thank you for becoming a member. All right, so check this out. You see the light part right here? That's basically the other side of the portal that they take this device right here. They put it up over this building in the shape of a dome. I wish I had a better picture to show you guys, but they put it, imagine like a football stadium that, basically has like a dome top to it. And then they put this portal right here, right in the middle of it. That represents our world. Our world is closer to probably like a snow globe in our local area right here. It gets crazy when you go down. It's no longer really snow globe, but in our area, it's kind of like a snow globe basically. So this contraption is placed into the sky, right? And the bad guy's like basically sucking everything up into this portal to go to this other dimension. Well, what that symbolizes is not that it's a portal to like, you walk through and you're in some other place like they show in the movies. No, you go through the portal in the sky. You travel the circuits of time. You travel through Doctor Who's wormhole, the Einstein-Rosen bridge, the vortex, the black hole sun, whatever you want to call it. When you go through that, you are in what we like to think of now as space. You are in space, except it's not space. Oh no. Because space does not look black and void and empty and dark. As you can see here, this is a very good representation. For those of you who have seen me break down into the Spider-Verse, same thing. When they went into that doorway, that opening, and they went into those other dimensions or other realms, the space that they traveled through was not black. It was not dark. It was not dead. It was not empty. It was vibrant, with a sort of white, colorful, shimmering shine to it. Hey, Colin Freestone donated on top of it. Thank you. He says, JayDreamerZ, you're such an inspiration. Oh, thank you so much, man. You guys, thank you. I really appreciate it. So when you go through that, just like we saw in the movie that I broke down, now I'm getting pumped up. When I broke down RIPD, remember? Same thing. There was the hole up in the sky. Plasma apocalypse. They went through that hole, and he looks around, and space looks more like a beehive made out of cotton candy than it does black, empty space. You know what I'm saying? So that's what this white hole is. On the other side of that is Earth. So that's the roof of our world. And this is Baymax shooting out of it. Now, what this really is, okay, this is NASA shooting out of it, okay? All the people that are here, all the space agencies and stuff, many of us know there's more to the story, right? We know there's more to the story to leaving this world, okay? Those of you who are conspiracy minded, it's accepted as common knowledge. I don't even like to get into it because I see it as everybody in the world should know this already. You know what I mean? But anyhow, this is why, for those of you who asked the question, why would NASA hide anything from us? Why would our governments lie to us, etc.? This is why. Okay, this is the opening in the world that will allow them to escape. They came into our world. These guys right here, bipedal fractalverse travelers, I call the Fantazoids. They came into our world and they broke the rules. They came down in here into this realm and they introduced technology. They introduced higher levels of thinking and inventions and basically gave a lot of ideas to the natives here in order to set themselves up for a real cush kickback kind of a lifestyle for all of their generations going into the future. Now they're in trouble. Okay, this is the oldest story that there is in every religion. There are the demons that come down or the angels who fell and the good angels one of these days, right? Always one of these days, not immediately, but one of these days, the good angels are going to come down and kick their butts and find them and destroy them or inflict judgment upon them or whatever. All that is space cops. That's all that is. Like whatever is out there, there is a higher I don't know if you know what to call it, government, or I don't know what to call it, but there is a higher group of beings out there, and clearly they have rules. They clearly have their own laws and their own ways of life, and many of those ways of life are, if you break those rules, they're punishable by death. And those beings who came down here knew that. And if you read, I think in chapter 6 of the book of Enoch, it lays it out, the contract that these beings made with one another. They made a promise. They made an oath. They swore their oath and they said, hey, we all bind ourselves by mutual execrations that we will not abandon this task, but that we are committed to it. What that means in layman's terms is they said, we understand we came in here. We're going to manipulate this world. We're going to break all the rules so that we live a good life. And we're going to keep that a secret. Shh. That's the secret. When you see Hollywood actors and everybody doing all this stuff, shh, right? That's the secret. This is the secret that they're keeping. That they came down here. They broke the rules. They changed the future, basically, by introducing technology and other things like that to the natives of this world, instead of allowing them to grow on their own and develop on their own and learn on their own. They didn't. They tried to rush the advancement of our world. And because of that, they're going to get in trouble. They know they are. So anyhow, this is their way out. NASA, one of the older vids I did was called NASA, the world's greatest doomsday preppers, okay? Which is what they are. You're going to see the rockets all shooting up into the portal in the sky. Everyone's going to be conditioned to think that it's some sort of alien invasion. And so our governments are shooting up there to fight the aliens. They're not. They're leaving you behind. They're saying, we're leaving on a jet plane. We don't know when we'll be back again. We're the rocket men. I mean, they're going to go. And they know it's coming. And they know the signs. And they know what to look for. This is a secret. Why? Because they don't... I can't say exactly why, but I mean, it stands to reason. They don't want to be found out. They don't want to be followed. Like, they don't want people to know who they are, what they've done here for a few thousand years, and where they're going to next. They're going to travel to the next place and probably do it all over again. But when that portal opens up, it seems to be the trend that the next group comes in after them. Just like a bus station, a train station, a subway station, okay? You've got your train that comes in, whoosh, then you have to wait for the next one. When our hole in the sky opens up here in our world, the people who are on the next train, they're going to come in. So the bad guys of this world, they want out. Not all of them will leave. I believe that the more pure-blooded ones will probably leave, okay? And people who have made certain deals with the devil in order to get out of here, in order to leave again, I think those people are going to leave. Some are going to stay. I think a lot of those are going to stay because, you know, they can't take them out there because of their genetics, basically, because they have mixed into the natives of this world, and they know that they're not going to be allowed to leave, okay? When you go to the afterlife, or you go to the next place, or heaven, wherever you want to call it, the higher realms, oftentimes there's a test, you know? Even the dead, they are tested before they're allowed to pass into the next realm. A lot of times that test is in the form of psychic ability, and you get psychic ability by being around an influx of the electromagnetics of that plasma, which is what's going to happen to us. Like I said, many of you are going to turn into superheroes in some way, shape, or form, possibly supervillains. I don't know. I hope not. But magic is going to inundate this world. Oh, there it is. So there it is. I didn't know I found that one. Okay, cool. So as you can see, they made this sort of partial dome above this structure, right? The dome at the top has the opening, and it's sucking everything up into it. Why? Because it has to do with gravity. It has to do with, not just that this is some portal. I mean, why would a portal suck things into it if it's just a portal? You know, if I open my door is not going to start sucking out everything unless my house is pressurized or depressurized and there's a pressure gradient there. You see what I'm saying? That's what that represents. That's the plasma apocalypse right there. Now, what this guy does, everything's getting sucked up. And Baymax is wearing all red. He represents the plasma itself. There's actually a point where Baymax goes from healer to completely plasma possessed. He's messing everybody up who is in his way to go kill the bad guy. Even this kid's friends. And that's what happens when people become plasma possessed. They're blind, man. They have no thoughts of their own. They are following orders. They're taking a back seat to the program. Be careful. Be very, very careful, because you can lose years of your life and yourself not even realizing that you were in automatic to a program. Whew. Oh man, that's why I highly encourage all of you to really find yourself, search for yourself, find out who you are, man, and try to break the mold. Anyway, enough about that. So this is space. They're going back into space here. Baymax, he can't really basically he has to sacrifice himself. And when Baymax sacrifices himself, he's got this little rocket fist and he pushes the kid back through the hole back into the earth. I know a lot of you are probably like, dang, that sucks, right? Because you probably want to leave here too. I think it would be cool, but I think there's a lot of awesome benefits to staying. Anyhow, Baymax sacrifices himself to shoot the kid through the hole or through the portal up in the sky. Sacrifice in order to stop or sometimes start an apocalyptic event is a huge part of the plasma apocalypse, okay? There's always the element of the sacrifice that is made in order to stop these apocalyptic events. I did talk about that a lot when I talked about like my Project Bluebeam or the Blue Fairy video that I did. Now, as you can see, Baymax, who is this all-white being, he retreats back into space where he belongs because he's one of the Fantazoids, right? He's the all-white being. But he also has his red, which means that he's representing right now the plasma retreating back up there through the hole, because here's what happens in short, okay? We have an electromagnetic force field wrapped around our world. Some people call it the Van Allen belt, some people, whatever you want to call it, okay? The magnetosphere, whatever you want to call it. That force field is what keeps the plasma at bay. It keeps the Kraken from entering into our world. It keeps Cthulhu from waking up and coming down in here and killing everybody, basically, and changing the world. When that force field is down, the plasma comes in. When the force field is reinstated, the plasma is now traveling up through the middle of our world where the North Pole is, and it's going to actually fill our world with that electromagnetic magic or energy or whatever you want to call it, vibration, whatever. It's going to drastically change life as you know it for a long time, I promise. Which is good because you're going to live a lot longer, which is awesome. Anyhow, he retreats back into space. That's the plasma retreating back into space. The portal's going to close after the sacrifice has been made and the plasma goes away. That's exactly how this happens. And as you can see, look what space looks like, right? There's stuff out there. It kind of looks like the inside of a brain if you were to zoom in on it. I think I should talk more about the space brains in future videos because I really want to. I don't think I've hit home enough on that concept of the it out there and around us and in here, the space brains, basically. All right, so there's the bad guy. He also represents the bipedal Fantazoids, the Nephilim, the Anunnaki, whatever you want to call them, who were giants. That's why he uses these machines. He doesn't use them for a whole bunch. He just uses them to make himself taller for throughout the movie, okay? But yeah, they make them taller because it also symbolizes the giants and the giants returning to our world. There are some giants in our world today, but believe me, going into the new age, giants will start to grow, okay? If you have offspring in the new world, your kids are going to start growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And like I said, the further back in time we go, people were bigger, stronger, healthier, smarter. We're getting to that drunken state right now where we're running out of energy. But once we hit the reset, we're immediately already back in the past. We've traveled back to the future. It's the days of future past. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, here's a good shot of all the stuff floating up into the sky as the plasma apocalypse is happening. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people believe that these elite of the world, which is what he sort of represents, that they have ways of triggering the plasma apocalypse. My personal thought on that is that's why we had World War I and World War II, because you have to have a lot of chaos, and the energy the current energy whatever the current energy is needs to be amplified to its maximum amount before those poles or the polarity can flip around. You see what I'm saying? And that's why usually before this apocalyptic event, there's some sort of world war. Well, we all know the governments purposefully started those wars. It's not like it was just a natural, like, I don't like Koreans or I don't like Germans or no, it had nothing to do with racism or anything like that. Although they will try to paint it that way. I believe it's simply amplifying energy. It's trying to create energy where there wasn't any. It's trying to amplify that male dominant energy that's in our world today. All right, so here he is. He's coming down. He's the plasma. Everything's getting sucked up into the sky. You know, this part of the movie reminded me of the Karate Kid, like the original Karate Kid, right? There's this part where the Karate Kid really, he doesn't like the bad guy, and he gets him. He gets him right to the point where he's like, live or die, man, live or die, right? And the bad guy's like, just kill me. That's what they always say, because they're death-oriented. They have death on the mind. They don't understand life, so they choose death for themselves. Think about that. So, in the Karate Kid, he goes, ah, and he honks his nose. He goes, honk. He's just being playful, right? He fights that hatred with fun. He fights that hatred with a ridiculous spell from Harry Potter. And that's exactly what happens here. You would think that he's about to get punched into the earth, but he doesn't. Baymax stops right there. And they choose life. It's a key element to the plasma apocalypse. It's a key element to everything we're going through these days. And it's a key element to the movie. All right, I think that was pretty good, right? I think I wrapped that up pretty good. I didn't see... I'm so sorry if I missed any of the comments or anything. I was just doing what I do. This is my first time back for a little bit. I did update the credits. So it took a little while because I had to start from scratch basically. So hopefully they're just as cool as they've always been. Stick around for the credits. Check it out. We all like to rock out to the song at the end. I'm going to do my Sylvan Lining segment tomorrow. I'm really excited about it. I have a lot to say because of what I've gone through myself. And then, of course, Plasma Apocalypse Thursdays, where I will talk about and go into as much detail as I can about the Plasma Apocalypse. Until then, I want to welcome all the new members. I want to thank you so very, very, very much for your donations and helping me to keep the lights on, basically. Thank you a lot to everybody for all of your support. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.